America, my name is Osei-Frimpong, and today I'm going to just say a few words about Joy-Ann Reid getting bounced. Look, all of the worst Democrats, black Democrats in these United States have nice things to say about Joy-Ann Reid, making them relevant. And so now they're bad, but they're relevant because of Joy-Ann Reid. Now, it's not so much that they were bad Democrats. That's their right. The fact that they were relevant and they were made relevant by Joy-Ann Reid is the problem. They are the voice of a black democracy. The Jason Joneses and Simone Sanders and the Eli Mistyles of Joy-Ann Reid blessed them. And that is the problem, that she was in the position of deciding which black Democrats matter. Make no mistake, not all black Democrats matter. Only the ones that the gatekeepers allow matter. They're the ones that we get to see on your television screen and given big media pushes, right? And all of the worst ones like Joy-Ann Reid and can thank Joy-Ann Reid for their careers. And Joy-Ann Reid is now bounced because they wanted a new black gatekeeper. She wasn't delivering the goods. She wasn't delivering the goods. You got the linebacker Simone Sanders now there. I call her the linebacker Simone Sanders. If someone told me she set the edge for Virginia Tech, I wouldn't be surprised. But that's a horrible thing to say. And that's why I'm probably not going to get invited on her show. But I'm not a huge fan of Simone Sanders for different reasons, mostly because of the way she sold out the Bernie Sanders campaign while working for the Bernie Sanders campaign. Now, we have to understand the role of black gatekeepers. They are the ones who tell white liberals which black people they need to actually listen to and which one they can summarily dismiss. And not black people decide that. Other whites decide that. Other whites picked Joy-Ann Reid to decide which black people to listen to. David Enos says, wasn't Simone Sanders, part of the 2000 era Ravens defense? Yeah, she was right in front of Reid and next to, what's his name? So you got to be nice to people or they'll make fun of you on the internet. And Simone Sanders wasn't nice to enough people, so I'm making fun of her on the internet. What I do want to say about black gatekeepers is that we do not need to cry when they get fired. First of all, Joy-Ann Reid has made enough money selling out black people, selling black people to Democrats, because that's their move. She's like a procurer, also known as a pimp. She delivers black people onto Democrats. That is her job, and that's a job she did for so long and so well, and that's not my problem that she no longer has that job. Now let's talk about. So I wanted to talk about Joy-Ann Reid being a gatekeeper that was taken out, and then now how she survived the purge of all of the other gatekeepers, all the other black people that were taken out in 2016. In 2016. She survived that purge. So she was like the woman who lived, and now she finally got taken out. So whatever. She was like a zombie. She was always a dead person walking in this America. And that's not the worst thing. That's not the worst thing. The black people are not better off or worse off for Joy-Ann Reid getting fired. Melissa Harris Perry is a little bit more of a complicated answer, but Joy-Ann Reid was like just dependable garbage. So I do not need her in my life. And I don't think American politics suffers for her not being able to pick which black people get put on. Can we get rid of Al Sharpton too? I would like to. This isn't about us. We need alternative networks. You need to send all of your friends my stuff instead and watch just better news and media. So I want to talk a little bit. I want to pivot a little bit to youth sports because I'm teaching my kids. I'm the head coach of my kids' junior high soccer team, and it's a bit of a pickle. Not a pickle. It's a conundrum because I want these girls to win, but they've just been losing forever, and it's really interesting because it's a Title I school, Title I district. The girls are not particularly great at soccer or any sort of skill activity, because skill activity takes time and money and resources. And by the time you're 12 years old, you can be behind in just about anything. By the time you're 12 years old and you want to be a violinist, you're behind in violin. By the time you're 12 years old and you want to be a soccer player, you're behind. By the time you're 12 years old and you want to be a baseball player, you're behind. Now, I can catch you up. It's better to catch you up in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade than to try to do it in your sophomore year in high school. But make no mistake, by 12, you are behind the people who actually have intact cultural infrastructures. And you might not know that you're behind. But I know that you're behind, and I'm trying to get you up to where you belong. Love lifts us up where we belong. And so I'm dealing with the bad news bears with these young women, and it's a little bit ticklish because, make no mistake, at 11, 12, I can catch them up. It's going to take a lot of tedious work, and getting both emotional and skill level, getting through to them is a bit of a job. But I can catch them up, and they already won their first game under my tutelage. And who knows, nobody really remembers the last time this team won. It's like being Old Miss playing SEC football. Like, nobody really remembers the last time they beat Alabama or Georgia. Nobody really remembers the last time the Washington Generals won. Now I'm the coach of the Washington Generals, and I find it both an amusing thing, but also it's possible to win because it's still young, and if you teach them the right kind of fundamentals, you can do anything. For example, if you have to teach little kid basketball, one cheat code is to use a full court press, because you can beat a full court press if you have a good point guard. But if you don't have a good point guard, full court presses are kind of stressful, right? So if if you have a bad basketball team versus another bad basketball team, press them full court and good things will happen. That falls apart when you have like a real good basketball team. But if you're just bad against bad and you're trying to be better than the other bad team, full court press. There are similar tricks in soccer that you could do, especially with throw-ins and just being a little bit more organized than the other bad team. And so that last year, the team scored 2 goals and lost all their games. In their first game, they won 2-0 this year under my tutelage. So you're welcome, giving these kids a bit of dignity. And then they got smacked by the white school. The white Earth school. Well, these are all like the ponytail girls, the white soccer player last game. But we come at them next game, and I have a plan. So we're going to take them out. And people just don't understand that these are skill sports. And I was talking to someone else who has a kid at the junior high, and he just took over the baseball team. And they got smacked by, the relatively white school in the same way, because baseball is a skill sport. There's nothing natural about these sports. And honestly, and this is where I'm going to get called a little bit sexist, but it's my own channel, so I'm just going to go for a little bit. Look, you got a lot of women coaches who've never played the sport well and never really thought about the sport well. They might have been a bench player on their team, and now they're the coaches. They don't know actually how to coach to win. Because they were never really great when they played themselves, and they never really learned. They were just kind of, fumbling there. And then that kind of guides the ethic of the sports program. So you get a lot of like people who think that, the sport should be fun, or that you should scrimmage all the time. And my kids like do well because we never scrimmage. We pretty much never scrimmage. We only run drills. We only do fundamentals. We only do the tedious stuff. And because they don't have skills, and I think that all of this stuff is skill. There's nothing natural, and there's nothing fun about getting good at anything meaningful. And insofar as sports are meaningful, when you get good at it, it's not going to be through nature, and it's not going to be through enjoyment. It'll be through building capacities and skills, right? So I'm building capacity and skills, and once you're competent, you'll get confidence, and everything else will come from that. But that's a hard sell to not just the students. It's a hard sell to a lot of the parents. And then these are the same parents, mind you, that then yell at the kids during the games. I don't yell at the kids during games. I yell during practice. I do not yell during the games. During the games, I pretty much talk like this. I have a good sense of humor because I think you don't win games at games. You win games during practice. And So I'm hard on them during practice, and I push fundamentals during practice, and we do a lot of one-on-ones, and we do a lot of drills, and we do a lot of skill work, because you can't really do strategy or anything like that, like hard tactics, passing or anything like that, until you're comfortable receiving the ball and turning, and like none of this is natural. And like the baseball swing is great, because I'm a pretty bad baseball player. There's nothing natural about swinging a baseball. Someone who is moderately coordinated throwing a baseball at you, nature tells you to run, right? Fielding is not natural. Fielding grounders is not natural. Nature tells you to like get out of the way, and that like if it hits a gopher hole or something like that and pops up and chips your tooth, that's a bad thing, right? So these things are not natural. Playing any sport that's worth playing is not going to be necessarily natural. Now there are some see ball, get ball types of like sports that are a little bit more forgiving and natural, but for the most part, by the time you're 12, you should have been taught technique. And this is why I've said before that I think physical education classes should be like actual physical education. Like 5th grade, 4th grade physical education could be as rigorous and intensive and fulfilling as math. 4th grade, physical education, elementary PE classes should be really, really content rich, because they could be, and then save a lot of people anguish in junior high. Because I think in general, kids should be generalists. They shouldn't start focusing in on a particular sport until 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. When they're young, they should just be playing a lot of different ones, but getting good content, getting good principles about sports, about like how to defend a goal in general. I'm a generalist, but then you should get the general awareness of how to play a sport by getting good at specific sports, just different specific sports. Right? So you become a good basketball players get transitioned to good soccer players pretty well. And according to Akeem Olajuwon, good soccer players get transitioned to good basketball players pretty well too. Like what I've noticed, what I'm going to do next year is I'm going to go recruit from the basketball team, because they already understand spacing, they already understand the principles of defense, and they're used to getting rubbed up against a little bit. I might end up coaching cross country at the same school, so I can get a lot of my kids conditioned through cross country. But I'm going to go recruit, and then I'm also suggest that some of my kids, if they have parents with the means, join a combat sport, Taekwondo or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is right next to the junior high school. And those girls are used to getting kind of rubbed up against. They're used to getting hit without freaking out. And I like that. I can teach those girls the footwork and how to be good soccer players. And so this idea that you could start like at 12 in any sport and even be bad at it is really unfortunate. To even be bad at a sport, you needed to start earlier than that. To even be bad at baseball, you need to already have played baseball before you get to 14. That's to be bad at it. Right? So we need to understand that's what sports are. You need real content from a young age. And it's not something you just pick up and have fun, because it won't be fun while you're learning the real content. But if you do learn the real content, it becomes fun later. And that's a lot of life. But I think that's a kind of gendered part of life, because we're not honest with girls about what it takes to do stuff. And that's a problem. And that's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time. If you appreciate what I do, both calling Joanne Reid a gatekeeper and saying, do not cry that she's down. She was never for us. And also my thoughts on youth sports. Because I'll be talking a lot about the girls soccer team. As I said, I took them as bad news bears. We're going to see if we're going to win the championship. I told them we are going to win the championship because I think we can. But not because we'll be the best players, but because I think I can like organize them in a way that'll help them win the championship this year. And then I'm going to do a Pat Riley and repeat. But next year we're going to repeat because we'll just be the best we're going to be the best players. We're going to be the best players. All right, so Paul Smith says, sorry to say this, but you're talking nonsense. There are male and women coaches that weren't great players, but were great coaches. That's true because they were students of the game. I'm talking about men and women who weren't great players, but weren't great students of the game. So especially on these travel teams or AAU or even some high school teams, you'll get a lot of players because the people want your money. You can play for 10 years and still not only not be able to play very well, but not be that great of a student of the game because nobody really invested in you learning the fundamental game because they were just too busy trying to separate you from your money. Like most coaches, both private and public, are bad, right? They give the kids the ball and they just scrimmage. They don't understand the fundamentals of the game. They don't want to teach that because kids don't want to learn and nobody wants to actually have the hard conversation and the tedious work with kids. So most coaches in most sports are just bad at it because it's easier to be a bad coach in the same way that most teachers of most things are bad at it because nobody wants to actually teach kids who don't want to learn. But good coaches can teach kids who actually don't want to learn, and will make kids who don't want to learn the fundamentals learn the fundamentals. Like good coaches, like I told my kids, I said my kids got to cut out sugar and candy if they want to actually play this game at a high level. Some of the girls are a little bit bigger than they need to be. And, but most people aren't going to have that hard conversation with 13-year-old girls that look, if you want to move, you need to cut out the crap. Right? Oliver Apex says, how is basketball and football? I assume he means soccer similar. Football is a low-scoring game. Football, soccer. All right, it's similar because of passing lanes. Understanding passing lanes and space, very similar, like in soccer and football. Also understanding how to read the defender's body. Where if a defender's facing you this way, coming at you this way, you go across their weak side. All of that stuff makes sense to basketball players in a way that it doesn't make sense to other sports. So I can take a basketball player, and if you give me a little bit of time, I teach him the footwork to be a mediocre soccer defender and then even offender because they'll be generically coordinated. You have to be pretty coordinated to play basketball. Dribbling is hard. Passing is hard at high level basketball, and dribbling is hard pretty much all the way through basketball. People underestimate how hard dribbling is. But if you can dribble, especially if you can dribble between play and understand space, I can teach you soccer. Because dribbling a basketball is not the easiest thing in the world. And dribbling a basketball around corners and through space isn't really the easiest thing in the world either. And if a person has figured that out, especially if at the 11, 12-year-old, if you've already figured that out, I can teach you soccer. But most coaches in general are bad, so they just scrimmage kids. By the way, if you ever want to know if your coach is good or your coach is bad, go to the first practice, and if they're scrimmaging, the coach is bad. If they're just scrimmaging, their coach is bad. Or, because the kids are going to want to scrimmage, and a good coach is going to say, no, we're going to do these drills instead. We're going to do one-on-ones. The highlight is the one-on-ones. Mostly you're going to do dribbling around cones and stuff that's not particularly fun. And if they are good, they'll do a one-on-one. Good coaches aren't also going to talk about passing. Good coaches, passing is so hard. Not so much in basketball. Passing is so hard in soccer. You need to receive the ball. You need to be able to get to a spot. You need to be able to look up. You need to know where the run's going. By the time you can pass well in soccer, you could do so many other things. Or you've just skipped so many other things and have had other holes in your game. You need to be able to trap. You need also pretty good feet because you need to be able to deal with the person charging in at you. Passing is hard. So dribbling is fundamental. Dribble first, pass second. And then bad coaches Bad coaches will tell you to pass first and say communication's the issue. No, the issue is that your players are probably freaked out because they have the ball now and they can't dribble, and like the whole world is coming at them, and so they can't concentrate. So dribbling is fundamental. They need to be able to dribble. They need to dribble through cones. They need to be able to do one-on-one work. Then we can teach them to pick up their head. They need to be able to read defenders and have comfort with the ball at their feet and all of that stuff. Then we can teach them to pick up their head and pass. Then when they teach about picking up their head and passing, then we can finally have conversations about space and rondos and all of that stuff. But you know, basketball players like understand space is opening up and closing in a way. And Paul Smith said dribbling is much harder than passing, in my opinion, in soccer. Yeah, but the problem is if you have a whole team that can pass but can't dribble, like receiving passes becomes stressful because you need to be able to, receiving passes become stressful if you can't dribble. So I just think that you got to teach people to be able to dribble, and you have to be able to, so that they can receive passes with comfort and not just like play a game of hot potato, or they end up just freaking out. And remember, I'm dealing with 12-year-old girls. They end up just freaking out and kicking it. If you can't dribble, like when you get the ball, you'll just freak out and kick it. All right. So first things first, if you want my priorities, you need to find kids who are not scared of going out and getting the ball. Prioritize that. Basketball players are good about that because in order to learn how to rebound, you got to get used to pushing someone out, getting the ball. That's the first thing, the hardest thing to teach. And that's something that basketball players kind of come with. Even if they're bad at all of the other aspects of the game, they are used to like the everyday, like getting rubbed and then getting the ball. If you can rebound, you've already like, in basketball, you've already done the hardest thing I have to do to teach you in soccer, which is like just getting the ball, taking the ball from someone else who thinks it's theirs, and you not freaking out about just taking their ball, thinking that it's yours. You got to learn to do that in rebounding basketball. If you can learn to do that in rebounding basketball, I could easily move you in to soccer. That is a hard thing. That is a hard thing to teach. That is a hard thing to teach. Also, teaching speed is hard because I can teach speed. It's just going to take a lot of time. And if you're overweight or not used to thinking you should move your feet, that's a hard thing to teach. So it's a hard thing to teach speed. It's a hard thing to teach you that you have to like get in there and get the ball. Now, once you get that, once you give me a girl who doesn't know anything else, but they know that they have to go in and get the ball and they're not afraid to run, then I want to teach them dribbling. Boxing out in position. If the basketball team teaches you to box out in position, I can teach you. That's the hardest thing to just teach because I want to be able to teach you other things. But if you can learn how to box out in other sports and come in here, when you come in here and play soccer, like everything gets easier for me, right? So I got a girl who can box out and who knows how to run. Great. Then I want to teach them how to dribble. I want to teach them how to trap and dribble, bring the ball down and dribble, which bringing the ball down, trapping isn't going to be that big of a deal because they're not going to be scared of the ball. They're used to like hard balls, but dribbling is still going to be a thing. And I'm going to want cones and juggling. I'm in the U.S. I'm going to call it soccer because we have a different kind of football, which is a different game. All right. So it's going to be pretty easy. And then once I can teach you to dribble, and I have a whole team of people who could dribble and get the ball, then we can talk about passing. And it won't be passing from I'm scared of the ball, so I'm going to get rid of it. It'll be like smart passing. And that's when we can actually, beat teams on merit as opposed to tricks. Because right now, the first team we beat, I knew, because I've been watching youth soccer for like a long time, I knew that at the beginning of the season, nobody knows how to do throw-ins efficiently. So beforehand, and this, I swear, the team was skeptical. I just told them, look, beforehand, nobody's going to know how to do throw-ins efficiently. So if we are just faster in transition, we could beat them. We can beat them. We can move the ball up as if like we're getting first downs. Because what happens is all of my outside backs take the throw-ins. And I just said, never fight over it. It's always going to be the outside back. If the ball goes in, the outside back sprint to the ball and throw it in, and then the wing touch the get on the line about 15 yards up, and then some girl from the other team is going to come crashing in, and either our wing is going to be able to turn it and go, or the girl crashing in is going to knock it out, and you just do the same thing 15 yards up. The girls were skeptical until we did it in our first game, and that's pretty much how we moved the ball up. It was ridiculous. It was laughable because it just kept working, and we just moved the ball up as if it was chains, and because our transitions were that much faster. And so when you don't have skills, you can kind of game with transitions and all of these other things, like just by doing throw-ins just more efficiently and faster, while the other team's like fighting over it and figuring out the defense for the throw-in. Our throw-in game was awesome, which is why we won the first game. We didn't win the second game because every girl on their team was better than every girl on our team, but we're going to fix that. We're going to fix that, which I think is possible, because we can once again just be a little bit more organized and have just a little bit stronger fundamentals. All right, so you wanted a Joy-Ann Reid show. Joy-Ann Reid was Gatekeeper. She decided which black people were relevant, and she was not always doing it for the best interests of black people. So I'm not sad that she's down, that she's gone. We don't lose anything. As opposed to youth sports, I'm going to do a whole different youth sports. You got to start early. I think you should start with high-level sports, just not specialization. So they should play a lot of sports at a high level. They should learn really good soccer, really good, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, really good gymnastics. They should get into serious sports early, really good tennis, but just not specializing yet. Just like, because if you get really good at one of these, really good basketball, they'll all kind of make sense, and you'll just be a really good athlete. Now, you can't just play every sport badly. That's when people get confused. They just sign their kids up for a bunch of sports, but don't work with them on any of them. So they just end up they play every sport badly, and that's not particularly good. You want to get your kid good at one sport, and then good at another sport, and then good at another sport without specializing yet. So that's what I want. So like, I get your kid really good at basketball for a year. Trust me, if you get them really good from 7 to 9 at basketball, when they're 10, they'll be good. I can turn them into a soccer player from 10 to 11. Or like, just get them really good at different sports, but they have to be really good at different sports. They can't be like a hack at every sport. That's not helpful. All right. So thank you for your time, and I will talk to you later about something else. If you want to support the show, go to www.funkyacademic.com, kick in $5, $15, $50 a month, which I think you should, because I'm going to give you all of what you need for both politics and youth sports that you're going to need to make a mess out of your life, to not squander your existence or screw up your kids, which I think is important. I don't want you to squander your existence nor screw up your kids. And so you need to support me doing what I'm doing to help you do what you do. And next show, I think I'm going to do a youth sports and reading, how they have so much in common. Because, like I said before, there is a misnomer or canard out there that youth jocks are not particularly smart, when actually sports are technical enough in this day and age that the kinds of parents who teach their kids the quality of technique you need to be good at like a technical sport are going to be the quality of parents who actually sit and read with their kids and get them good at that aspect too. So there's and also the quality of parents who just sign their kids up for sports and expecting the institution to make them good, and the kids who just sign their kids up for school and expecting the school to make their kids good. Those both fail for the same reasons also. So there's a harmony between youth sports and the conditions and why youth sports fail, and teams fail, and why schools can't teach kids to read very well either. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that on the next show. Thanks. Peace. Excuse me.